Have you ever noticed how the loudest person in the room is rarely the wisest one? And how the older you get, the more powerful it feels to simply pause, breathe, and say, "Nothing? When I was younger, I thought talking more meant living more, explaining more, proving more." But age quietly teaches a different lesson. One you don't learn from books or motivational posters. You learn it from moments that sting a little. Moments where words slipped out too fast and couldn't be pulled back. Moments where silence would have protected your peace, your dignity, even your future. And that's when you start realizing that silence isn't weakness. It's strategy, it's strength, it's wisdom wearing comfortable clothes. Because as you age, you see patterns, you see how people react, not just to what you say, but to why you say it. And you notice how some conversations drain you while others elevate you. And slowly, almost without trying, you start choosing silence, not because you have nothing to say, but because you finally understand what's worth saying and what's not. And let me tell you something that most people won't admit out loud, especially on YouTube. Talking less doesn't make you invisible. It makes you unreadable. And unreadable people are harder to manipulate, harder to provoke, harder to control. And that's a quiet kind of power that only comes with age. Because when you're young, you explain yourself too much, you argue with strangers, you defend your choices to people who don't matter. You fill every silence because silence feels awkward, like failure. But later in life, silence feels expensive, like something you protect. Like a luxury item you don't waste on just anyone. And there's a reason elders in every culture are portrayed as calm, slow-speaking, observant. Because they've learned the cost of careless words, they've paid it already. Sometimes with broken relationships, missed opportunities, or unnecessary stress that sat in their chest for years. And silence becomes a form of self-respect, a way of saying, "I don't need to react to everything that tries to touch me." And this is where the real shift happens. When you talk less, you listen more. And when you listen more, you notice things other people miss. Tone changes, hidden intentions, small lies, emotional gaps. And suddenly, you're not just participating in life, you're reading it. And reading life correctly is one of the greatest advantages of aging. Because wisdom isn't loud, it's accurate. And silence sharpens accuracy. I remember an older man once telling me, not in a lecture way, more like a half-smile comment, "Every word you don't say saves you energy." And at the time I laughed. But now I get it, because energy becomes precious as you age. You don't want to waste it on pointless debates, gossip, explaining yourself to people who already decided not to understand you. And here's something people rarely talk about. Silence also protects your plans. When you talk too much about what you're going to do, people project their fears onto you, their doubts, their limitations. And suddenly your dream feels heavier. But when you move quietly, you give your goals room to breathe, to grow without interference. And this isn't about becoming cold or distant. It's about becoming selective, intentional, calm. Because not every thought needs a microphone. Not every emotion needs an audience. And not every truth needs to be spoken immediately. Sometimes the strongest move is to observe, wait, and let time reveal what words cannot. And as you age, you also realize that arguments don't always need to be won. Because winning an argument can still cost you peace. And peace, real peace, is priceless after a certain age. You start valuing quiet mornings, calm evenings, conversations that don't feel like battles. And you realize that silence can de-escalate situations faster than clever comebacks ever could. Silence confuses anger. It disarms ego. It forces others to sit with their own noise, and that's powerful. Especially when you're no longer interested in proving anything. Because aging humbles you in a gentle but firm way. It shows you that life is short, energy is limited, And your words should be used like a fine tool, not a blunt weapon. And there's also this unexpected benefit. When you talk less, people start leaning in. They listen more carefully when you do speak. Because your words aren't cheap anymore. They're rare, measured, and thoughtful. And rarity creates value. Always has, always will. And this doesn't mean you become silent all the time. It means you speak with purpose. You respond instead of react. You choose clarity over noise. And slowly, people feel it. They sense the calm, the confidence, the quiet authority that doesn't need to announce itself. And here's the part that really matters. Silence helps you hear yourself again. Your intuition, your inner voice. The one that gets drowned out by constant talking. Scrolling, explaining, justifying, and as you age, that inner voice becomes one of your most reliable guides, but only if you give it space. And space is created through silence. And yes, sometimes silence feels uncomfortable, especially at first. It exposes emotions you've been avoiding, thoughts you've been outrunning, but discomfort is where growth hides. And older age isn't about running anymore. It's about understanding, accepting, refining. And silence is the classroom for all of that. So if you're getting older and you feel this natural pull towards speaking less, don't fight it. It's not you fading. It's you evolving. It's you choosing depth over noise, meaning over performance, peace over chaos. And if there's one suggestion I'll leave you with today, it's this. The next time you feel the urge to explain yourself, argue back, or fill a quiet moment with unnecessary words, pause for just 3 seconds, breathe, and ask yourself, will my silence protect my peace more than my words? Because more often than not, the answer will surprise you. And that surprise, that calm realization, that's the real power of silence as you age.